Now, the greatest radio shows of all time.
Suspense.
The Shadow Node.
Washington calling David Harding, counter-spy.
Classic radio theater.
The Great Gildersleeve. Fibber McGee and Molly.
Dragnet. Gunsmoke.
The Lone Ranger.
Now, step back into a time machine with your host, Wyatt Cox.
Good evening, friends of the Inner Sanctum.
I haven't done this for a while, but I want to thank you for making us a part of your day. We are going to do some podcasts periodically, and I know it's been 6-8 weeks since I've actually sat down on a microphone, but I figured I need to do something here to keep things rolling. And let me, first of all, thank so many of you. I still haven't gotten around to all of your correspondence and kindnesses that you have said for some time here. And thank you for, I have to tell you that I'm feeling a whole lot better. The stress is way down in my life, but I wanted to do a podcast here just to thank all of you for that. And also do a podcast about America's greatest pastime. We're coming up on the tail end of the baseball season, and the World Series is coming up. And there are a couple of shows that I really enjoy doing here on the podcast and on the show, and that baseball is a big thing. Let's do this. We have never aired this particular episode of the Hallmark Playhouse. This is from May 12th, 1949, and it's the Thurber story, You Could Look It Up. Let's listen to this episode of the Hallmark Playhouse on Classic Radio Theater.
Remember, a Hallmark card when you care enough to send the very best. Tonight from Hollywood, the makers of Hallmark greeting cards bring you William Frawley in James Thurber's You Could Look It Up on the Hallmark Playhouse. Each week, Hallmark will bring you Hollywood's greatest stars in outstanding stories chosen by one of the world's best-known authors, the distinguished novelist, Mr. James Hilton.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is James Hilton. Tonight on our Hallmark Playhouse, we present a dramatization which, in its happy way, signalizes the approach of summer. For the baseball season has already opened, and a good story about baseball can be as enjoyable as the game itself. Fortunately, we have such a story, and one written by an American of genius who not only writes but draws. He is James Thurber, well known in the pages of national magazines and deservedly admired by all who can see the funny side of things. Mr. Thurber's humor is so unlike anyone else's that one just has to use a special adjective to describe it. So let's call it Thurberish. I think you'll agree that our story tonight is thoroughly Thurberish. Indeed, it has a Thurberish title. You Could Look It Up. And it's appropriate, too, that we should have as our star that very fine actor, William Frawley. And now, Frank Goss, have you a word about Hallmark?
Hallmark is the name to remember when you want to remember your friends. For birthdays, weddings, anniversaries, holidays, there is a quality about Hallmark cards that whispers good taste. And you'll send them with pride. For that identifying Hallmark on the back adds meaning. It says you cared enough to send the very best.
Hallmark Playhouse presenting James Thurber's You Could Look It Up, starring William Frawley.
To be better than it is now, Grandpa Doc?
Why, Jamie boy, when your Grandpa Doc was trainer for a big league team, baseball was baseball. Things really happened in ball games then. Like the time Pearl de Monville.
Pearl de Monville? A girl on a baseball team?
Pearl wasn't no girl. Pearl was a midget.
A midget? On a ball team?
You heard me. A midget.
Gee, Grandpa, that must have been a long time ago.
Now, don't go trying to pin me down to dates, Jamie, and I'll tell you how it happened.
Is this a true story, Grandpa?
True? Why, you could look it up in the record. Every blessed word. It was toward the tag end of September, the year after we was world's champs. And I was chief trainer, and Squawks McGrew was manager.
Squawks?
Yeah, they called him Squawks because when things was going bad, he lost his voice and squealed like a little girl when you stepped on her doll or something. We was in a terrible slump. From leading the league by 7 or 8 games, we went flopping down to a half a game ahead of St. Louis. And Squawks McGrew was yelling at everybody. He wouldn't listen to nobody, and none of the players would listen to him.
Well, what about the midget, Pearl?
Well, now I'm coming to Pearl. Don't rush me. We was on our way to St. Louis and stopped off in Columbus, Ohio to play an exhibition game.
Columbus playing the world champs?
That's right. And I couldn't stand watching them slaughter us. So I sneaked back to the hotel. I made the coffee shop okay, opened the door, got inside, and there was Squawks McGrew. So I sits down beside him, and there we are like a couple of stiffs waiting for the coroner.
Oh, how I pity me, Doc. How I pity me.
Well, maybe this is the end, McGrew, the end of the losing streak.
I'll never smile again, Doc. Never so long as I live.
Who cares, McGrew?
What was that?
I don't know. It sounded like a horse laughing into a tin can. Oh, it's a kid. Run along, Sonny.
Don't Sonny me, Junior.
Hey, waiter, get this kid out of here.
I seen that ball game today, McGrew. You know you ain't got no ball club. What you got there is a sideshow.
I say, I'm sorry, Mr. McGrew. Now leave Mr. McGrew alone. He don't mean no harm.
Beat it, kid.
Don't call me kid, Junior.
Who are you calling Junior, you little...
All right, that'll be enough. Come on. He don't mean no harm by that. He calls everyone Junior, because it always turns out that he's a year older than them. Now, come on.
Wait a minute. How old are you, Sonny?
How old are you, Junior?
53.
I'm 54, Junior. Now give me a light.
A midget? Why, I don't believe it.
He got you, Junior. A midget with a cane, a straw hat, and a cigar. Now I've seen everything.
Make this flat-footed waiter leave me go, McGrew. And someone boost me up on a table.
Leave him alone, waiter. Bring him a sarsaparilla.
With a drop of poison in it.
You tell him, Needle. You got the eye.
Look here, you. Who are you?
I'm the guy just seen Barnum and Bailey clowns dressed up in baseball uniforms. And now I'm talking to the trainer.
I ask you who you are. What's your name?
I'm Pearl de Monville.
Are you going to tell me your name, or am I going to put...
Pearl's the name, Junior. Pearl de Monville.
Pearl de Monville. What kind of a name is that? Where are you from?
I'm from the island of Stromboli.
Stromboli?
Sit down, Pearl.
McGrew, the team's on the way to the station.
How are they going, Doc? By ambulance?
Ambulance, you hear that, Doc?
Now, don't encourage him, McGrew. Cut it out.
You're playing St. Louis next, ain't you?
Yeah, 5 games. Why?
Here's what you do with that team, McGrew.
Huh?
And I'm giving it to you free. Put your outfield on crutches, your infielders on stretches, and let the basemen use their wheelchairs.
How about the pitchers, Pearlie?
Pitchers?
Yeah.
Dams and plaster of Paris, and when it dries hard, I teach him cricket.
You hear that, Doc? He teach him cricket.
I'm getting out of here, McGrew. Your brain's going.
All right, I'm coming.
Good.
And Pearlie's coming along with me.
Oh, no.
Coming, Junior. I've got to see what those fugitives from the old man's home look like out of the bandages and braces.
Look, tell him that, Pearlie. Don't forget.
You can't do that to the boys. They're touchy already. Pearlie will blow them high as a kite.
Great. Come on, Pearlie. I'll lift you down.
Oh, look, McGrew, don't do it. Pearlie will start a mutiny.
I know what I'm doing, Doc.
Oh, why didn't I take up embalming like my mother wanted me to?
So that's what's wrong with them, Doc. You've been practicing embalming the players.
Shut him up, McGrew, or I'm committing mayhem.
Now, wait a minute. Pearl's the answer we've been looking for, Doc.
Yeah.
The team's in a slump, overconfidence. They've turned into a gang of prima donnas. They won't listen to anyone, not even to me, the manager. Little Pearl's going to get through their thick hides with his insults. You watch.
Pearl, a midget telling off the world's champs.
Dayton, Cincinnati, Indianapolis, and St. Louis.
You take Pearl over and meet the team. I'll check the tickets.
You want to get me indicted for murder?
Do what I tell you, Doc.
Come on, Junior. The boys spoke.
Now, look, Pearl, I got a strange feeling the boys ain't going to like you or your jokes.
Like me. If one of them waterheads ever said a nice word about me, I'd sue for slander.
Okay, Pearl, only don't say I didn't warn you.
Look, Doc, got a crowd following us. Step along, folks. Right this way to meet the world's worst bull club. Step along now.
You better give me the name of your closest relative, Pearl. Oh, hello, boys.
Hi.
How are you, Klinger? 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 What's the idea of bringing a parade with you, Doc?
Yeah, who's your little friend, Doc?
Whitey Cott, this is,
An old friend from McGrew's. Buddies.
Yeah, a pal of McGrew's. Pearl Dumontville.
Pearl, yeah, that boy's pal of McGrew.
Oh, yes. Now, look here, boys. McGrew wants you to treat Pearl nice-like. Cott, shake hands with Pearl. This is Whitey Cott, one of the league's greatest catchers.
Sorry. Okay, Pearl, shake.
Don't try shaking hands with me, Junior. Because if you do, those short fingers of yours will break right off.
Now, Pearl, cut it out, you hear me?
Look, what is this, a gag?
Gag, nothing. I got a pitch to cut. Pearl's telling the truth. Cut it out, Klinger.
Look, I've taken just about enough from you, Klinger.
That's enough, Cott. You too, Klinger. If I was you, Cott, I'd retire.
One more word out of you, Klinger, and I'm going to pin you.
Yeah, you and who else? Just wait down here in the station. What's going on here? Let me through. Cott, let me through. Stop it, will you? Rasslers. That's what I got for a ball club, and not good rasslers at that. The police. Stop them, McGrew. You're the manager. Why should I? Let them murder each other.
Ladies and gentlemen.
Get down off of that baggage truck, Pearl.
All right, break it up. Come on, break it up. This way. Step up and see the wrestling baseball players.
Stop them, will you? Louder, Pearl, louder.
Right this way. See Glassarm Klingor, the pitcher. Bushel basket card, the catcher. All right, that's enough, Sonny. On to the train with you. Come on, all of you.
He started that midget stuff.
McGrew, come on, we'll miss our
Three
play.
left feet.
I told you, McGrew, you better apologize and send Pearl back to Columbus. Pearl's coming with us to St. Louis. No, you can't. You heard me. Pearl's coming to St. Louis. He's our new mascot.
Not me. I'm not masquerading for no bunch of feeble-minded wrecks.
They'll kill him, McGrew. They'll push him out a train window. Come on, Pearl. I'll lift you down.
I got no toothbrush, no extra suit.
Come on.
Let me go, McGrew.
Put him down, McGrew. You'll be arrested for kidnapping.
Let me go. Help. Police. Somebody's trying to steal a kid.
Quit your squirming, Pearl. You're coming to St. Louis and help me knock the overconfidence out of this ball club.
Kidnappers.
In a moment, James Hilton will return to present the second act of You Could Look It Up, starring William Frawley.
Probably everybody listening to this program knows who William Frawley is, primarily known as Fred Mertz in I Love Lucy. He was also the political advisor to the judge character in the movie Miracle on 34th Street, and best known as Bub O'Casey in My Three Sons. He was Bub until failing health sent him out of the series. You're listening to an episode of the Hallmark Playhouse. You Could Look It Up. May 12th, 1949, episode of the Hallmark Playhouse, here on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now on Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox, we continue with more of the Hallmark Playhouse. You Could Look It Up, starring William Frawley, May 12th, 1949.
So there we was, Jamie. A world's champion ball club in a terrible losing streak. Beaten by a bunch of bush leaguers and heading for a shellacking from St. Louis with a cigar-smoking, wisecracking midget named Pearl Dumontville in our hair.
Grandpa, did Pearl get the overconfidence out of the team?
Not so you'd notice it. St. Louis knocked us off 2 straight like tin soldiers. The 3rd game, it's raining cats and dogs. And at the end of the 7th, when we was trailing 9-3, the game's called on account of rain. McGrew and me was in the dugout trying to keep dry and think of some other way we could make a living. And Pearl, he was sitting there grinning and puffing away at his big cigar.
Oh, I wish I was manager of a ladies' sewing circle.
You are, Junior. You are.
No, I can't take no more, McGrew. Pearl ain't doing us no good. The team's never been this bad before. A World Series slipping out of our hands.
World Series? These bums can't even play pinochle. You know why?
Yeah, 'cause all the cards are in St. Louis.
So long, Doc.
Where do you think you're going?
To the lawyers again.
Again? I never even knew you'd been to the lawyers once.
Which goes to show you how much you don't know.
With the team, you gotta... With the team, you gotta do something.
Come on, Pearlie. See you tomorrow, Doc.
Program here. Can't tell the ball players from the ushers without a program. Hey, get your program, I'll let you.
What you got there, McGrew?
A portable radio.
McGrew, not in the dugout. The boys are touchy now.
They're broadcasting our disgrace to the whole country. Pearlie thought the boys would like to hear it.
A beautiful day for a ball game, folks. The stands are packed to see St. Louis make it 4 straight games and head for the World Series.
Turn it off. That guy's got us beat before the game starts.
He's seen us play yesterday.
Something's got from the crowd, folks. Can't see it from here. Just a second.
What's happening? What are they laughing about?
The crowd sighted a kid, a little fellow about 3 feet high, wearing the uniform of the visiting team.
McGrew, you didn't...
The kid's carrying a toy bat, swinging like mad. Turning handsprings now. And listen to that crowd.
Get him off the field, McGrew. Where'd he cut or kill him?
The first guy that lays a hand on Pearl is through with baseball.
Wait a minute. What is this? He's lighting up a big cigar. No, I'm wrong. It's not a kid. It's a midget.
McGrew, you did this.
Yes, it is a midget. Whitey caught the catcher's walking up to him now. Oh, you should have seen that. Caught, pulled the stogie out of the midget's mouth and stamped on it. How the whole visiting team is converging on the little fellow. He's running. They're after him. He's heading for the visitor's dugout. But I've lost him. He's disappeared behind the wall. Just a minute, I'll switch you to Jack Collins down on the field with a microphone. Take it, Collins.
This is Jack Collins. The midget has gotten away from Cott. Billy Klinger's climbing up after him. The rest of the team is going over after McGrew. Now here's McGrew coming up out of the dugout with his trainer, Doc. And here's the midget. He jumped down from the wall. He's hiding between McGrew's legs now. Whitey Cott's reaching for him.
Hey, you guys, McGrew says leave Pearlie alone.
Wearing that uniform on the field.
Disgracing the whole team.
Let me take him to the shower.
Let him run in our uniform. Who put him up to
That uniform means something to us, making a mockery out of the uniform.
It might surprise you pack of fumbling idiots to know Pearl ain't making no mockery of no uniform. Pearl de Montville has been made a regular member of this so-called ball club. Now get out there and warm up with your new teammates, Pearl.
All right, we'll warm up.
I don't believe it.
I fixed it up with the front office by long-distance telephone.
Play ball!
Who you kidding, McGrew? I can just see our owner saying to you exactly what we need, Mr. McGrew. A cigar-smoking midget.
I'm telling you, Doc, our owners okayed it.
Mr. McGrew, just exactly what did you tell the owners on the telephone?
Dear owners, I says, I want to sign up a new player. That no living pitcher in the whole league can strike out.
And did you tell the people who own this ball club what size man this new player, Pearl de Montville, is?
Never mind about that. Legally, Pearl de Montville is a member of this ball club.
But, McGrew, even if it's legal, the game is only you.
Now, look, you tell those clowns to get out there and play like they never played before. Or so help me. I'm replacing anyone that doesn't with a 3-foot midget.
McGrew, open your eyes. They're walking another man.
I don't believe it.
Ball 3!
You done it, McGrew. They're playing ball at last. Putting Pearl in uniform turned the trick.
We're still trailing, ain't we? 1-0.
Ball 4!
Walked in. Base is full. Cops up and the slump's over. Turn on that radio and let's hear what that wise guy's got to say for us now.
Some Something's come over the visitors, and they're playing baseball. It's the first of the ninth. Score St. Louis 1, visitors nothing. With the bases loaded and Whitey Cott, their strongest hitter, coming up. Looks like this ball game's going to be tied up or perhaps won in the next couple of minutes.
See, even he's saying the slump's over. All Cott's got to do is let that pitcher walk him, and we tie him up.
Just a second. Cott, hold it.
McGrew, where you going?
Something's happened. Cott's not going to the plate. McGrew, the manager, is out on the field. Just a second.
Pearl de Montville, get up to the plate.
Now you're talking, Junior.
No. They'll put you in a padded cell, McGrew.
We're going to win this ball game, Doc. There's not a pitcher in the world who can throw 3 strikes to a 3-foot man before he pitches 4 balls. Pearl, now, listen to me, baby. All you have to do is just stand there. You got that? He's got to walk you.
They won't let you. Here comes the St. Louis manager, Muller, with the umpire.
Tell him, Ump. Tell him. Get that midget off the plate in 30 seconds or I'll forfeit the game to St. Louis.
I told you, McGrew. I told you.
Take a look at this contract, umpire.
A contract for a midget?
You really was to the lawyers.
No, you can't. It's not in the books. No midget can play on no ball.
Tell me, McGrew, what's this midget player been doing all season?
Growing up.
Tell him it's against the rules.
Here's the book, Muller. Read me in print where it says there ain't no allowing a midget to play. Go ahead, read me.
McGrew's right.
Yeah.
There's nothing in the rules says he can't play. You can't. No pitcher living can measure a strike for a 3-foot man.
Maybe next year they'll change the rules. Now play ball.
You're a genius, McGrew.
Come on, Junior. Right across the plate, Junior.
McGrew, the Constitution's perfectly legal, Muller. No. Robbing us in our own town, you robber.
On the visiting team, Earl de Montville now batting for Whitey Cott.
Play ball!
This is Jack Collins talking to you from the playing field, standing between home plate and the visitors' dugout. After a big argument, the umpire has ruled Pearl de Montville can pinch hit for Whitey Cott, and the 35-inch tall player is up at bat with the bases full, waiting to be walked to force in the run that'll tie up the score. The St. Louis pitcher, Frawley, 6 feet 3 inches tall, is studying the situation. He's crouching low, measuring the batter. No, he's standing up now, on his tiptoes. He's going to lob the ball to the batter. And there goes the pitch. Ball 1. Oh, way off. No, 2 feet over Pearl's head. Now, here comes the second pitch. Ball 2. Crazy bowled that one along the ground, and Pearl had to jump it. The pitcher's talking to the St. Louis catcher. There goes the catcher back, and... No, I don't believe it. Yes, he is. That big St. Louis pitcher, Frawley, is lying down on the ground now, on his stomach, his right arm up, trying to heave the ball toward the plate, and there it goes. Ball 3. Oh, that was closer, but still off. Here comes McGrew, the visitors' manager, and Doc, the trainer, standing right in front of me.
One more, Pearlie. Just stand there, baby. Just stand right there like a little statue. Don't move now. Don't move.
Now here comes the one that counts. The pitcher's still on the ground. He's letting it go. A high, easy pitch, big and slow like a balloon in the air. And it looks good from here, heading for the plate.
No, Pearl.
The midget swinging. He hit it. Thurber! Pearl's heading for first base. The ball's rolling toward the pitcher. He can't get up. He misses it. It's still rolling. Here comes the shortstop after it. Oh, he it. The ball's still rolling toward third, and Pearl's still running. With those little legs, first base is a sleeper jump away. Here comes the second baseman in after the ball, and he's got it. He throws to first, Uh-oh, Pearl's still 20 feet from first base. Out at first! Billy! There goes your ball game. St. Louis wins 1-0.
No, McGrew, stay here. Don't.
Let me go. I'll strangle him.
No, don't, McGrew.
Fair hand! And McGrew's running out to get him. Doc is after McGrew. I'll see if my line will stretch out there.
Throwing my ball game. Why?
I couldn't help it, Junior. I'm only human. I was sure I'd kill it.
I'll do you for the ball. Don't get out of my way.
Let me go, man.
Right.
I got you now.
Come on, Mad. He's got the midget by the feet. He's swinging him around his head.
No, don't.
I'll find you in Wichita.
Don't.
Let go. Pearl Dumontville is soaring through the air like a 4th of July rocket. He's arching up, heading for the Bull Durham sign on the far fence. Up.
What happened to Pearl, Grandpa? Was he killed?
Nope. Not a scratch on him. Just as we thought he was going to clear the Bull Durham sign, he starts cutting a narc down. Slow like a high fly. And in comes the St. Louis right fielder, moving under him for the catch. Grabbed Pearl right out of the air.
Boy, then what happened to Pearl?
Pearl? Well, he just sort of vanished in thin air like our losing slump. After that, Jamie, when the team saw what McGraw made a fool out of to the whole world, they felt sorry for him and busted out of their swell heads and played like demons. We hit Chicago for 5 straight games and sailed onto our own home like a lot of dynamite to win the pennant. And then the World Series.
But what about St. Louis?
Well, after that game with Pearl, St. Louis was so shook up they never hit their stride again. Their best pitcher, Frazee, the one who got Pearl to bite on that slow ball, he kept shooting everything too low. And the infield took to misjudging everything that came their way.
When'd you say this happened, Grandpa? What year?
Now, you know my mind ain't what it was for dates, Jamie boy. But it's all in the record, just like I told you. You can look it up.
In a moment, James Hilton and William Frawley will return. Now, I'd like to remind you of a joyous gift for children, the newest kind of greeting cards, Hallmark Little Women dolls. Famous stars of MGM's new movie, Little Women, posed for these Hallmark dolls and autographed them. Think what a thrill for a child to receive a doll of Margaret O'Brien as Beth, Elizabeth Taylor as Amy, Janet Leigh as Meg, June Ellison as Jo. Characters they've loved in the book, on the screen, now their very own dolls to play with day after day. Each doll is 8 inches high, stands up by itself, and there's a charming verse that tells all about her. Their costumes of beautiful colors are just like the movie, and they have real feather plumes in their hats. You can mail them as easily as greeting cards, and they cost only 25 cents each. Or for only $1, you can get all 4 Little Women dolls in a permanent portfolio, a truly glamorous present. Tomorrow, at the Friendly Store, where you'll find Hallmark greeting cards, look for Hallmark Little Women dolls. Here again is James Hilton.
Thank you, Mr. Frawley, for a thoroughly Thurberish performance. We've been very happy and I think very lucky to have you here.
It's been a pleasure, Mr. Hilton. And thanks to Jerry Austin, who played Pearl de Montville.
Yes, indeed. A grand performance.
You know, I always enjoy myself when I get mixed up with baseball. Its traditions are as truly American as, well, as your Hallmark cards.
I think that's one of the nicest compliments we've ever had paid us. Thanks again, Mr. Frawley. And I hope you'll listen to us next week when we present Sir Arthur Pinero's great love story, The Enchanted Cottage, starring one of Hollywood's newest and brightest stars, Richard Widmark. And following that, Kenyon Nicholson's fine story of American carnival life, The Barker, starring that distinguished actor, Charles Bickford. Our Hallmark Playhouse is every Thursday, Our director-producer is Dee Engelbach. Our music is composed and conducted by Lynn Murray. And our script tonight was adapted by George Corey. Until next Thursday, then, this is James Hilton saying good night.
Look for Hallmark cards that are sold only in stores that have been carefully selected to give you expert and friendly service. Remember, Hallmark cards, when you care enough to send the very best. This is Frank Goss saying good night to you all and inviting you next Thursday and every Thursday to tune in 1/2 hour earlier and listen to the adventures of Casey, crime photographer, followed by the Hallmark Playhouse. This is CBS, the Columbia Broadcasting System.
This is KMBC, Kansas City, Missouri.
There you have it, May 12th, 1949, the Hallmark Playhouse. You could look it up. You're listening to Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox. Now we go from a Thurber story about baseball to a story about baseball in the future. This episode of X-1, Marian Sam, was originally broadcast on May 9th, 1957, about how, well, you went from one way that things were worked around in baseball to another in the future.
Countdown for blast off. X-5, 4, 3, 2, X-1, fire. From the far horizons of the unknown come tales of new dimensions in time and space. These are stories of the future, adventures in which you'll live in a million, could be years, on 1,000 maybe worlds. The National Broadcasting Company, in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, presents X-1. Tonight, an original story by Ernest Kenoy. The time, early in the 21st century. The story, Marian Sam. The
whole thing started the first day of spring training. I'd gotten into camp 2 or 3 days before and started to loosen up a little. Because at my age, even batting fungos to an outfielder can tie your muscles up into knots. Although, as a matter of fact, I'd bet that I was in better condition than half the Humpty Dumptys on the club. We hadn't won a pennant since, 1997, or was it 98? And it looked like we had a permanent lease on 12th place. The Los Angeles Dodgers were in pretty sad shape, and that's the honest truth. I was standing behind the batting cage watching a couple of kids from our Tokyo farm team when Tommy Watson from the New York Times Tribune News caught me by the elbow.
Hi, Joe. Well, how does it look this spring?
Well, Tommy, the club has been considerably improved.
Mm-hmm.
Several of the youngsters are ready to deliver this year, and, of course, we expect sterling performances from our veterans. Is that what you want?
Oh, come on now, Joe, come off it. Has old man Castle loosened up enough to buy a catcher?
Not that I know of.
Well, how about a left-handed pitcher?
Well, they're those 2 boys from Tokyo.
Oh, come on, they couldn't throw a cream puff across the dining room table. Well, how does it feel to be first base coach for a team that'll clinch last place by July 4th?
You're very kind, Tommy. Very kind.
I just hate to see that old tightwad Castle run this club into the ground. I remember my father used to tell me about the times way back, when they were still in Brooklyn. And I can remember going down to Robinson Stadium when I was a kid to watch doubleheaders with the Denver Giants. Now look at them. A bunch of overage bums and a few kids who could hardly make the high school team. And all Castle's money goes to buy sports rockets for that screwball son of his. Oh, Joe, baseball isn't what it used to be.
The sad truth of the matter was that Tommy was putting it mild. Old man Castle, the owner, begrudged every nickel that was spent on the ball club. I don't think anybody had gotten a raise in the last 5 years. The manager was old Rabbit Cinderella. and Castle used to issue statements every year about how he had great faith in him. Truth of the matter was that Rabbit would work for less than any other manager this side of the Sally League. You'll see what I mean when I tell you that the club traveled in an old four-jet Strato rocket like some barnstorming semi-pro team. I was in the locker room looking down at my feet to avoid looking around that were passed for ball players on this Los Angeles Dodgers when Rabbit come up to me.
Joe.
Yeah?
Get your pants on and come into the office.
Oh, what's the matter?
Never mind. Come on.
Okay. Listen, Rabbit, what are we going to do about a left-handed pitcher?
Later. Joe, I had an idea. I thought we could take one of the right-handers and sew the letter backwards across his shirt, and maybe that'd fool the other club.
Yeah.
Come on inside.
Or maybe we ought to disguise Iron Mike, the batting practice robot.
All right, that's enough. Joe, the old man's dead.
What?
I said he's dead, old man Castle. Heart attack. I figured we had him scared so he'd loosen up a little dough for players, and then he goes and does this to us. Can't trust nobody.
Well, who gets the club?
His son.
What, you mean Whistling Willie Castle, the Jetstream playboy?
That's who.
But he doesn't know anything about a ball club.
He doesn't have to. Old man Castle owns 72% of the stock. And it all goes to Willie.
Well, what's going to happen?
Beats me. Probably sell us all out and buy a new rocket.
Is he here?
It was in the Earth-Moon small boat race when it happened. They got a message to him when he hit the direct beam off Lunaport. He could have landed and taken the shuttle back and made it in one day. But he was leading in the race, so he just kept going. He's due in a couple hours.
You think you can get him to go for a left-handed pitcher?
I don't know. We'll have to try.
Of course, you've heard of Willie Castle. About once a year, he cracks up some expensive sports rocket or gets himself picked up in a survival suit by the IP, floating somewhere in an orbit around the moon. He almost got put away a couple of years ago when he took a debutante up in a Harrison Kilgore cruiser and kept her in orbit for 2 months. The old man was able to kill the abduction charges by claiming that they'd been married at the time. And one time when the old man had a couple of us up at the lodge he lives in during spring training, I saw the kid's room. It was filled with marak heads that he'd shot on safaris on Mars. He came down to the training camp a week later. He buzzed over in a Harley Donaldson atmospheric and set the ship down in the hole between second and third, burning out half the infield. I saw Rabbit get him to one side and start talking fast, so I sneaked over and listened.
Well, Mr. Castle, of course, you know we're all very sorry about your father's death. And
He had it coming, the old tightwad.
Oh, well, I see.
I couldn't convince him that a credit isn't any good to you, stuffed in a mattress. You got to spend, isn't that right?
Yeah, it is. As a matter of fact, that's what I wanted to see you about. Now, there's a boy in one of the Milwaukee farm clubs, a left-handed pitcher. I can get him for about $30,000 and a couple of players. And
What do you mean?
Well, I mean, you're absolutely right, Mr. Castle. You got to spend money. And if we could get a little help in pitching and maybe an outfielder or two...
You mean spend money for baseball players?
Well, yeah. That was what I had in mind.
Now, wait a minute. This baseball team was my father's hobby, like some old men collect stamps or play checkers. Now, in the terms of the will, I can't sell it. But I'm sure not going to throw any good money away on something foolish like baseball players.
Oh, I see.
As a matter of fact, I'm going to need all the cash I can lay my hands on.
Yeah?
Yeah. I've got a chance to buy a 3-pile nuclear eraser that'll cut 2 weeks off the round trip to Mars.
Oh, I see. You wouldn't want to spend money on anything as foolish as ball play.
That's it. You've got the idea now. Oh, by the way, Mr. Cinadilla.
Yeah?
I find it's quite embarrassing to me to have my friends continually make fun of me because the Dodgers are in last place.
Well, as a matter of fact, that gets to be a touchy point with me, too.
Well, I'd like to see it change. So if you don't mind, would you please have them somewhere in a more respectable position, say third or second, within a month or two?
Now, look here, Mr. Castle. I can't make bricks without straw. You won't spend the credit for a ball player, and I can't...
You do your best.
Well, after that interview with the new owner, Rabbit went out and tied one on, and I had to run the ball club for 2 days till we got him straightened out. But I can't say as I blamed him. We won one game in the Grapefruit League. We played the Jacksonville high school team and squeaked out a 13-12 victory. What the Yankees and Braves did to us, I'd rather not say. We opened the season at home, and a mediocre pitcher for Pittsburgh threw a no-hitter at us. Actually, that's not quite accurate. The truth is he just pitched, and we didn't hit anything. We lost 10 straight from opening day, and we didn't lose on the 11th day because it rained. Rabbit and me piled into his 97 copter and flew out to the Castle Estate up near Arrowhead. I was in pretty bad shape. For one thing, Rabbit's copter has a wobble, and I was feeling green around the gills by the time we dropped down on the port. Willie Castle was very excited by the time we finally got to see him. He was puttering around a whole mess of stuff piled up in the middle of the floor.
Say, how do you like this? Isn't it exciting?
Yeah. What is it?
It's a Durgo stick.
Oh, yeah, sure.
And they use it in Mars in a game played between two villages. You see, all the men on one side line up, and then all the men on the other side try to knock them over with these sticks. Isn't it a beauty?
Yeah. Look, Mr. Castle, I got to speak to you. We got to have a left-handed pitcher.
Oh, you mean for the baseball team?
Yeah, that's right, the baseball team. That's what we got to have a left-handed pitcher for. Yeah.
Well, now, I can't really be bothered with details of that sort. I'm leaving for Mars in the morning. Oh, by the way, I haven't had a chance to look at the standings recently. How are we doing?
Mr. Castle, we may well set them out on record for consecutive games lost. Now, look here. You told me you can't sell the club, and you said you get tired of your friends kidding you about being last. Well, take it from me, Mr. Castle, and I know. Unless we get some ball players on that club, it's going to be last for the next 22 years.
Now, look here, Cinderella,
I know you can fire me, but I don't care who you hire as manager. Unless you get him a left-handed pitcher and a couple of other players, that club is going to stay last.
Oh, well, then I'll see what I can do. Don't worry about it.
What do you mean, don't worry about it? I got to go out there every day and try to make those bums go through the motions.
Now, look, I really have to pack. And besides, I'm expecting a new shipment of equipment from Aberfitch and Comby. Now, just don't worry about it. I'll think of something. Goodbye.
Next day, we lost a doubleheader to Cincinnati by a score faintly reminiscent of basketball. And that's the way it went. Oh, we won a couple here and there. Like they say, you can't lose them all. About the middle of the season, we were so far behind that the local papers just dropped us off the standings, didn't even bother to report it. It was about this time that Willie Castle returned from Mars. He came out to see us at the ballpark just before the massacre.
Well, I notice, Mr. Cinderella, that we're still in last place.
Yeah, Mr. Castle, we are. We are lucky we are still in the league. With the ball players that you've given me.
Well, I just wanted to tell you that I made a small bet with one of the boys at the country club.
Yeah?
Yes. I bet 1,000,000 credits that we'd win the pennant this year.
That's nice.
You don't seem to understand. I expect to win that bet.
Yeah, sure. And I expect to put on a Monroe suit and win the Miss Universe title.
I told you to leave everything to me. Now, I'd like you to come into my office, if you please. I have a few things I'd like to talk over with you. For one thing, I've signed a ball player.
You what? Now, look here, Mr. Castle. This I got to complain about. My contract is clear. No ball player gets signed without my okay.
Just come into my office, please. I'll explain everything.
That night, when Rabbit went up to the plate to hand in the starting lineups, I could tell something was happening. For one thing, old Baldy Snuff, the umpire, was looking at the card like it was written in Arabic.
All right, who's the pitcher?
It's written right there in the card.
Saramo Castro Perbaco.
What's the matter, can't you read?
Oh, come on now, you kidding? Is he Armenian?
Nope. Martian.
Martian?
That's right. Martian.
Of course, the riot didn't really start until our pitcher got out on the mound. Fred Kurtz, the Milwaukee manager, came running out like he'd been shot from a jet. Baldy Snuff was hollering. The whole Milwaukee bench was looking for a fight, but Rabbit just stood there quiet and calm.
He can't do that. He can't do that. Look at that thing. What is that?
That's my pitcher. We call him Sam.
But you can't play with that. That ain't a ball player. That isn't even a human being.
What are you trying to pull, Rabbit?
Listen, I got my rights. I sign them legal. Here's the contract.
But now look here, Rabbit. You can't get away with that. That thing's only about 2 feet high.
18 inches, as a matter of fact.
But how's he gonna pitch? He hasn't even got any arms.
Sure he has. He's got it curled up. Hey, Sam, wind up.
But that arm,
it's 32 feet long.
That ain't legal. You gonna let him get away with that?
Oh, there's one other thing. On the end of that arm, look, you see? That's his eye.
Rabbit, I'm gonna punch you right in the nose.
Now, take it easy, Kurtz. Take it easy.
Look, I got the papers all here. I've got the United Nations Concordat with the Marshall Colonial Government, a Supreme Court decision in the case of Schultz versus Karawa, Kalpabal, Kalfitz, et al. It's legal. Any Martian citizen is entitled to the same legal rights and privileges as a citizen of Earth. And among those is the right to play ball in a national league.
I protest again. I forfeit the game. Rabbit, I'm gonna punch you right in the nose.
As a matter of fact, the game that night was postponed because of riot. The next morning, everybody met in the commissioner's office, and sure enough, it was legal. Marian Sam, we come to call him, was a legally signed player for the Los Angeles Dodgers.
I told you not to worry. I found Sam in a village just north of Marsport. He's a klugel hunter.
A what?
A klugel hunter. Klugels are fast little animals that run about 80 miles an hour, and the hunters go out and throw rocks at them and kill them. Sam's a klugel hunter. He ought to be a pretty good pitcher.
How about the other clubs? What happens if they get klugel hunters?
Oh, they won't. You see, it's basically contrary to Martian psychology. They won't ever leave their own villages.
Then how come Sam left?
Well, it was an unfortunate accident, really. You see, when I first met him, I gave him a stick of chewing gum.
Yeah?
Well, he got hooked.
What do you mean, hooked?
Well, for Martians, the chicle seems to be habit-forming. Sam is a gum addict. Well, naturally, as soon as this was discovered, the traffic was prohibited. There's a death penalty for importing of chewing gum to Mars. But it was too late for Sam, so he came out with me.
You mean all we got to do is keep him supplied with chewing gum?
That's right. I told you I'd take care of it, didn't I? Now you've got your left-handed pitcher.
Sam pitched that night. He struck out 27 batters, and we won 3-0. Horace Kelly, the catcher, had a little trouble at first, but he soon figured out how to get around it. He'd just hold his mitt up and close his eyes, and when he heard a thunk, he'd reach in and pull the ball out and throw it back to Sam. You can imagine what it was like being a batter up there against Sam. Pitcher's mound is only 60 feet away from the plate as it is, and with Sam's 32-foot arm, well, we didn't lose the game the rest of the season. Of course, we started out so far behind that by the last game of the season, we were tied with the Milwaukees, and we were playing them at Milwaukee. The winner of this game won the pennant. Of course, it was a lead-pipe cinch for us. Marian Sam had pitched every day since he joined the club. He looked real cute out on the mound, standing 18 inches high in his little Dodgers uniform and in that long 32-foot arm. We had taken a finished batting practice at Milwaukee County Stadium, and I was standing next to Willie Castle's box talking to him.
Well, it looks like I won't have to be embarrassed about owning the Los Angeles Dodgers anymore, eh?
That's right. With Sam pitching, that means we win the pennant and the series.
Well, I think that's very nice. As a matter of fact, I'm thinking of taking the whole team on a barnstorming tour through Mars after the series is over.
Hey, Joe! Joe! Oh, Mr. Castle.
Well, what's the matter?
It's Sam. Sam!
Well, what's the matter? Is anything wrong with him? Did he get his chewing gum?
Yeah, he got his chewing gum, but he's just lying on the floor in the locker room moaning.
He is? We better get a doctor.
Yeah, and all those scales keep falling off him.
Oh, no.
What's the matter?
I know what it is.
What?
It's the molting season. All the scales will fall off. It'll take him a week to grow new scales.
But he can pitch, can't he?
No, he can't. Any violent movement would bring on great pain.
Well, there goes the ball game. Marian Sam can't pitch. We're dead.
Rabbit put it mild. We were good and dead. We pitched Harry Kosnowski, our best human pitcher, but our best human pitcher was none too good. He rose to the occasion, however, and the score was tied going into the last half of the ninth.
That's the way, Harry, old boy. That's the way. Pour it in. Come on, Harry. You can do it, baby.
Unfortunately, he couldn't. He hit a streak of wildness and walked 3 straight men. Things were very quiet in the Dodgers' dugout. One more walk would force in a run, the ball game would be over. Then as we all sat there staring out at the mound where Harry was sweating, we heard a little shuffling noise.
Oh, what's that? Sam, what are you doing out here?
And then with the little squeaks that he used for talking, Sam told us what he wanted to do. He wanted to pitch.
But, Sam, you can't. You're molting. Your scales. All right, Sam, all right. If that's the way you want it, you get out there. You pitcher that one batter. It's 2 out. You strike him out, it'll go to extra innings, and we'll win the ball game.
And so Marian Sam trudged out to the pitcher's mound, his tiny legs lagging with great pain. You could just tell the little guy was hurting bad.
Now pitching for Los Angeles, Marian Sam.
We knew that Sam could do it now. We only had to face one batter and we'd get our chance again. Horse threw the ball out to him and Sam stood there, his eye on the end of his 32-foot arm, blinking with pain.
All right, batter up. Let's get a batter in there.
The umpire called for the batter and nobody came out of the Milwaukee dugout.
Hey, come on, let's go. Hey, Kurtz, get a man up in there.
What's the matter, Baldy?
Let's get a batter in there. You're delaying the game.
What do you mean I'm delaying the game?
You get a batter up there.
But I got a batter up there.
What do you mean? There's nobody in the batter's box.
Baldy, I got a contract here for you to read.
What are you talking about?
Here. Read it.
Well, of course, everybody knows what happened. The Milwaukee Braves had signed an intelligent virus from the moons of Jupiter. He was up there in the batter's box, but of course you couldn't see him without an electron microscope. He walked on 4 straight pitches, forcing in a run, and the Milwaukees won the pennant. But like I say, that's baseball. You can't win them all.
You have just heard X-1, presented by the National Broadcasting Company in cooperation with Galaxy Science Fiction Magazine, which this month features Time in the Round by Fritz Leiber, the story of a dictator who suffered more than any dictator in history. He was so puny, and his victims were so impregnable. Galaxy Magazine on your newsstand today. Tonight, X-1 has brought you Marian Sam, an original story written for radio by Ernest Kenoy. Featured in the cast were Mandel Kramer as Joe, Santos Ortega as Rabbit, Ivor Francis as Willie, Jack Orrison as Baldy, Bob Hastings as Tommy, and Bill Zuckert as Kurtz. Your announcer, Fred Collins. X-1 was directed by Daniel Sutter and is an NBC Radio Network production.
April 3rd, 1957, X-1. Gotta love Mandel Kramer. Another one of those recognizable voices. We'll move from baseball to pinball when Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox continues in a moment. Yep, had to head to Pine Ridge for this episode of Lum and Abner. This goes back to January 11th, 1943, the grand prize on the pinball machine.
The makers of Alka-Seltzer bring you Lum and Abner. As you know, friends, the makers of Alka-Seltzer also offer 2 great vitamin products. Perhaps you've asked yourself, after hearing about one-a-day brand vitamin tablets, well, which kind do I need? The A and D tablets or the B-complex tablets? Well, actually, everybody, young and old alike, needs all these vitamins regularly. But since American diets are particularly lacking in the B vitamins, let me tell you why you should make sure of them. The B vitamins play a mighty important part in your body's normal activity where nerves, digestion, and energy are concerned. And without enough of them, you may become cross and irritable, you may tire easily, or you may just not feel up to par. Well, why wait? Take chances when now, by taking a single one-a-day brand vitamin B complex tablet each day,
you can be sure that you're getting your full minimum daily requirements of all the B-complex vitamins, whose requirements have been established. Now, think of that for convenience. And it costs only 90 cents for a full month's supply of 30 tablets. You better ask your druggist for a package of one-a-day brand vitamin B-complex tablets right away, and let them help you feel fit. But remember, one-a-day is a registered trademark of the Miles Laboratories, and none is genuine unless it has both the name Miles and that big one on the package. And now, let's see what's going on down in Pine Ridge. Well, in spite of the fact that Attorney Abner failed to produce any witnesses for his client, Cedric, and even swung over to the plaintiff's side after hearing Squire Skimp's final speech to the jury, defendant Cedric won the jury's verdict in his breach of promise trial. The deciding factor was the timely news that plaintiff Winifred Redfield had eloped with her doctor. As we look in on the little community today, we find Lum back in the Jollum Down store and library. Abner's just entering. Listen.
Oh, there weren't no mail today, Lum.
It wasn't, huh?
Oh, well, there was a bill from Grandpa Masters.
Bill?
Yeah, he wants his money for sitting on a jury during Cedric's trial, he says.
Well, for goodness sakes, he's got an nerve sending a bill for that. He slept practical the whole trial through.
Yeah.
What we ought to do is send him a bill for lodging.
Oh, yeah, that's a gooder. I believe I'll tell him that at the Golden Air Discussion Club meeting tomorrow night. Or that is, if you can wake him up long enough to tell him anything.
Yeah, you can also tell him that he won't get his jury money till Squire and Charlie Redfield put it up. They got to pay the court costs as long as they lost the trial.
Yeah, that's right, Amy. Dick Huddleston said old Charlie's pretty mad about the whole thing, Mom.
Yeah, I reckon he is all right. Losing the case and having his daughter elope with a doctor and all.
Yeah.
Of course, on the other hand, he ought to be happy, the way he's been trying to get Winifred married off the last couple of years.
Yeah, well, Dick says that Charlie's afraid this marriage ain't gonna last, though. That's what's worrying him. That's what's making him so mad, too.
What do you mean it ain't gonna last?
Well, he just thinks that feller just married Winifred for Charlie's money.
Charlie's money?
Yeah.
He ain't got no money.
Well, I know he ain't got much, but I reckon that's what Charlie thinks, for he's done telegraphed Charlie to send him and Winifred some money.
Well, I do know. You'd think a big doctor like him would have all the money he needed.
Yeah.
Especially if he's as famous as Squire said he was.
Well, he ain't actual no doctor, though. Just heard that a while ago. Dick Huddleston told me. No, sir. Yesterday, why, Charlie rode into the county seat on a milk truck to find out, well, exactly who his new son-in-law was.
Natural.
And he found out he weren't nothing but some feller that's been hanging around the pool hole in there at the county seat for months.
My grannies, I suspicion something like that.
That's what he said.
The minute Squire brung him into the courtroom, I suspicioned that feller. My unconscious self told me he was a crook.
Why, sure. Who told you?
My unconscious self.
Huh?
See, every feller's made up of two parts. You're half subconscious and half unconscious.
Oh, sure, I've heard that. What's the matter with me? Such ignorance.
What I can't figure out is why this feller, if he was a friend of Squire's, why he crossed Squire up the way he did. If he'd have waited and eloped with Winifred after the jury'd come to a verdict, Cedric would have lost the case just sure as the world.
Yeah, sure. Up to then, why, Cedric never had the least chance in the world of winning. There weren't no doubt about that.
See, to that, the feller eloped just before the jury went out.
Yeah.
Naturally, if they heard that, it'd never take them no time at all to vote against Winifred.
No.
I don't understand that feller.
Well, Dick Huddleston said that he heard that it was called Squire had offered to pay this feller a lot of money for pretend to be a doctor, and then right at the last minute, why, Squire backed down on his offer. Never paid him nothing.
Well, that might have been it.
What he said.
But whatever it was, it serves old Squire right.
Yeah.
Maybe this'll learn him that you can't trust a crook. No matter how dishonest he is, you just can't trust him. That's a new old lettered saying of mine, I think.
Well, sir, I never will forget the look on Squire's face when he heard about them low.
Wonderful world, boy.
Oh, well, howdy, Cedric.
Double wonderful world, I mean.
Well, you sure sound happy today, Cedric.
Yeah, bound you, it's a great relief having that trial over, ain't it, Cedric? Yes, Mom, it sure is. 'Cause now I can concentrate on playing the pinball machine again. Boy,
Is that all winning that trial means to you, Cedric?
Yes, Mom, I reckon so. You ought to have been down at Luke Spear's restaurant and seen the score I just made. Highest score I've made in that machine since it's been in there. 22,780 points.
For the land.
That's a record, too, Mr. Luke said. So I win the double grand prize.
Well, good for you, Cedric. The double grand prize.
Yes, Mom, I've been trying to win that for 5 years now, and I finally done it.
Well, if you've worked that hard for it, Cedric, I reckon you deserve it.
Yes, Mom. Sometimes during them 5 years, it seemed like I just couldn't hardly keep going, hardly.
Well?
Sometimes I got so sick of that pinball machine, I couldn't hardly stand to play one more game even. And I'd say to myself, Cedric! Mom?
What's the matter?
Thought I heard somebody calling me.
Oh, no. Oh, that was just you, Cedric.
Oh, yeah. Thought I recognized that voice. Silly of me, ain't it?
You were saying how sick you got of playing a pinball machine, and then you said you'd always say to yourself, Cedric.
Oh, yes, all I say, Cedric, you gotta keep going.
Well?
Just got to win that double grand prize. Cedric, old boy, you just gotta do
Well,
it.
wait a minute, Cedric, old boy. I believe that's our ring, weren't it, Lum?
Yeah, I believe so. You get it, Abner.
Yeah.
More likely it's just a grocery order. Tell them we're having to cut down on our delivery service.
Hello? Jot 'em down, store and library. Abner Peabody doing the talking. Huh? Oh. Well, what's the trouble now, Ulysses?
Uh-oh. I know what that call's about.
We
Mom.
can't, huh? Well, that's too bad, Ulysses. Just a minute. Let me tell Lum.
What's his excuse for not holding a club meeting at his house this week?
He says that a big batch of gophers has been digging on the front part of his house, and they might undermine the whole place.
Well, what's that got to do with the meeting?
Well, he's afeard if all us fellers gets in the parlor at one time, Lum, why the house will just sink right into the ground, just cave in.
For goodness sake.
He says they've already moved the parlor furniture into the kitchen, just scared to death of it.
All right, tell him we'll have the meeting somewhere else then.
Yeah, I believe we ought to. Hello, Ulysses? Well, Lum says we'll have the meeting at somebody else's house tomorrow night. Well, I'll let you know where it's going to be held. All right, Ulysses. Goodbye.
Granny, if that don't beat the bugs of fighting.
I believe that is without a doubt the worst excuse he studied that so far.
22,780 points. That's the record, Mr. Luke says.
Gophers. Prattle.
Don't know how I ever kept going, but I just wouldn't give up. I was bound and determined to win that double grand prize.
It's just hard to believe that a bunch of little old gophers... wait a minute here, Lum. Ain't the ground froze too hard for anything like that, gophers working this time of year?
Why, of course it is. Granny's, I ought to have thought of that myself. The ground froze harder than a rock.
Oh, yeah, they
Even if gophers could work in it, there wouldn't be no danger of the house sinking down. I'm going to call him back up.
Just don't let him get away with it. Just call him right up
Have
right
a meeting
now.
at his house or die in the attempt.
That's our time.
Double grand prize. I finally win it.
Quiet, Cedric. Lum's making a phone call.
Kept going till I win it. Never give up. That's me.
Cedric, be quiet.
Hello, is this Ulysses?
Bother Lum.
Well, this is Lum Edders. Yeah, say, Ulysses, I don't like to doubt your word none, but ain't you a little mistook about that gopher business?
Lum, I'll tell him.
Well, yeah, but the ground's all froze solid right now. Well, I figured you never.
What'd he say, Lum?
Said he never thought about that. 22,780 points I made.
Cedric, be quiet.
What's that, Ulysses? Oh, I see. That's how come you to make that mistake, huh? Ah. Well, we'll have the meeting at your place then, huh? All right, well, we'll see you tomorrow night then, Ulysses. Yeah. All right, goodbye.
My doggies, you got him that time, Lum. Good for you.
You know what excuse he give for making that mistake about the gophers?
No, what'd he say?
Said his eyes has been bothering him lately. He claims he sees such big spots in front of his eyes, they all look like gopher hills to him.
For the land.
Double grand prize. Every light on the board lit up. Prettiest sight I ever seen in my life. All them lights lighted up red and green and yellow and all of them.
Well, I do know.
Don't know how I kept going all them years, but I done it. Old Cedric never give up, did I?
Bound you, Lum, that Ulysses can see just as good as me or you or anybody else.
Look like a Christmas tree there, all them lights are shining there. Prettiest sight I ever seen. Even though I hated and despised that pinball machine, I just kept on playing. That's what I done. I'm a hero, I believe.
Cedric,
Nearly.
will you please quit talking about that pinball machine thing?
Yes, Mom, but I admire me for that.
Believe I'll call up Clarabelle and tell her how I won the double grand prize. Boy.
Now, here, don't go calling up Clarabelle now. Get away from that phone.
For goodness sakes, don't do that. Look what happened the last time you tried to call her up. Got yourself engaged and lawsuit and I don't know what
Just
all.
keep away from that telephone, Cedric.
Maybe she'll love and admire me, though.
I don't think that pinball stuff makes much of an impression on anybody like her, Cedric.
Yes, Mom, but I win the double grand prize, though. 22,780 points I made, and all the lights was lit up.
Oh, my.
That's the record, Mr. Luke said.
He'll never get over it.
Cedric, you've told us that 100 or 1,000
Why
times.
don't you go on home for a while, Cedric? You need to get some sleep anyways, working of a night.
Too excited about winning the prize to sleep. I'm going to call up
Wait a minute. That's our ring again. Now be quiet while I answer, Cedric.
Well, when you get done, I'll call her. 22,780.
Hello, jot 'em down, store and library. Abner Peabody doing the talking.
Prettiest sight I ever seen.
Huh?
Quiet, Cedric.
You're where? Oh, my goodness. How'd you get down there, Ulysses?
Ulysses? What's happened to him?
He fell down in the well,
Oh, my goodness.
He said he thought the well was just another spot in front of his eyes and stepped right into it, and he says he can't get out in time to hold a meeting over there at their place tomorrow night.
Grannies, we better send some help. Wait a minute. Whereabouts is he calling from? The bottom of the well?
All right, Doggins, that's right. Wait a minute, I'll ask. Hello, Ulysses. Whereabouts are you calling from? I said, whereabouts are you calling from? Hello? Hello? Hello?
What did he do, hang up?
Yeah, changed his voice and said wrong number and hung up.
Should I call up Clarabelle now?
Cedric, what do you want to do that for?
I want to tell her what a hero I was in winning the double grand prize. How I kept going even though I couldn't hardly even stand to look at that pinball machines more than I can say. Hated to play every one more game more than the other. But I just kept on anyway.
Well, all right, go ahead and call her then if you're bound and determined. Got your heart set on it. Go on.
Boy.
By the way, Cedric, what is the double grand prize that you want to win so bad?
Mom.
I say, what is this double grand prize you win? What do you get for it?
Oh, that. Well, I get to play 5 free games on the pinball machine. Boy.
Folks, of course, you and I know that it never pays to be careless, especially where colds are concerned. And that's why we strongly urge you to start taking Alka-Seltzer at the very first sign of a cold for the prompt, comforting relief it offers for that dull, achy misery. Use Alka-Seltzer as a gargle, too, if a sore throat's a part of your cold distress. Now, of course, in addition to taking Alka-Seltzer, you'll also want to take care of yourself. Get lots of rest, eat sensibly, dress wisely, stay out of drafts and overheated rooms. But for downright gratifying relief for much of your misery, take Alka-Seltzer as directed on the package, will you? Where can you get Alka-Seltzer? Well, at all drugstores in 30 and 60-cent size packages.
Five free games of pinball. Boy, that was something. Although I remember it used to be the big thing to hit the free games on pinball machines years ago. Yes, I used to play pinball. Analog. Long before the digital stuff happened. If you've never been there, may I suggest you visit the Pinball Hall of Fame Museum in Las Vegas? Yeah, I know you're going to Las Vegas for other things, but the Pinball Museum on the south end of the Las Vegas Strip is an amazing place to be. Look it up online, Pinball Hall of Fame. Find out a lot. It's fun, and it's also a charitable institution. They give, or at least they used to, I'm pretty sure they still do, all the money, all the quarters that go into the pinball machines, yeah, they do take quarters, actually go to the Salvation Army. So there you go. Yeah, that episode of Lum and Abner, January 11th, 1943. Thanks for joining us for the podcast. Thanks all of you for still listening. I appreciate you all. And of course, the webpage is still classicradio.stream. Have a great day. We'll talk again soon. Wyatt Cox with Classic Radio Theater with Wyatt Cox right here.